Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Future Quest. We've arrived at the final 2 issues. The threat of Omnikron looms over Earth, but with the experience of Space Ghost, the newly realized potential of Mitor, some scientific firepower, an army of drafted fear minions, and a giant frickin' robot, the planet may yet stand a chance. Failing that, it's a coin flip between calling in Jabberjaw or Secret Squirrel. The cover has an air of excitement and a lot of concern, with Space Ghost flying towards what may be an off-screen inferno and taking a horrified-looking Johnny Quest along with him. This is why Ghost's babysitting business never took off. The alternate cover sees Frankenstein Jr. in a canyon clobbering Omnikron while electricity surges around him, Ghost flying to meet a hanging eyeball, and the sidekicks flying towards one of the monster's other eyes, if that reflection is any indication. I guess the other heroes are getting victory takeout before the battle is even finished. We begin with a report from Falcon 7 on the creature's most recent attack in Pakistan. The organism's body is now several square kilometers across. Whoa, it may be trying to consume all life on the planet, but I think fat-shaming is a bit harsh. Thousands were absorbed before it retreated. However, thanks to the strategy of shoot it from far away, casualties were less than they could have been. As it is, Internation's team of specialists are preparing one final assault to save the world. And no, it will not be a dance-off. At the request of their dad, Johnny and Haji are making a video showing how they either stopped Omnikron, or, as his brother from another mother suggests, how they failed. They show off their team: Frankie and the Herculoids, Mitor, who's a critical player in their fight, Space Ghost as he trains Race, Deva, and Jade in the use of power bands, and Birdman helping the Impossibles meditate their way to pushing their abilities to new heights. I guess the world at threat means it's not a big deal that Johnny mentions the imps have actual powers, since before they were somehow passing them off as advanced special effects. And now Haji is making faces, after mentioning they could fail. This is why he isn't morale officer. There's just no getting a read on this kid. They also throw in a video from Jan and Chase, which is sent to any planet on Omnikron's menu. A woman narrates that they don't know how the creature came to be, but theories include a natural mutation for galactic population control, or maybe a lab creation that got loose, and it may or may not have had something to do with Space Ghost foil Brack. Zorak got him a chemistry set and mail-order sea monkeys for his birthday, so naturally it was going to result in a planet-devouring blob. The entity overwrites living DNA into part of itself, acts on instinct, but uses knowledge from its victims to identify threats, then sacrifices a portion of its mass to create vortexes to new worlds to start things all over again. It consumes until there's nothing left, leaving inhabitants the only option of cryosleep or world evacuation. This lecture is interrupted when Gleep gets an ache, indicating Omnikron has returned, and Sumati is told that the latest target is Calcutta, Haji's hometown. The 3 big brains, Zin, Linda, and Benton, have a ways to go on their device, but Deva lies to them, saying that the threat is off-world. Johnny asks why she didn't fess up about the attack, and she says that sometimes horrible news is best to bear alone. They have one shot at this, and rushing in desperate and unprepared is likely to end in loss. When my agents wreck someone's property while apprehending a target, do I tell the owners so they know who to seek compensation from? No, because... Okay, that's because I don't want to get sued. Haji is concerned not simply for his birth country, but because Omnikron can appear anywhere in an instant. Usually he and Johnny have to sneak around and hide to join the adventure, because they're always supposed to stay somewhere safe while the grown-ups do their work. But now, they're as safe as they're gonna get, because nowhere feels safe at all. Then we have a really great moment from Space Ghost. He tells the boys it's okay to be afraid, so long as they always stay hopeful, because he thinks they've got a good chance of stopping their foe. Earth's oceans help slow their enemy down, and since humans have no means of interplanetary travel, they're putting up a bigger fight than more advanced worlds. Even mortal enemies like Zin and Quest are cooperating, much like the Herculoids working alongside a giant robot. In a panel that is a clear nod to Coast, he says, "That's the kind of action that changes history." It's nice to see this hero not get all cynical or morose, even though he's seen other worlds suffer, comrades fall, and lives destroyed by this threat. Given his experience, there's no guarantee Earth will be spared, but he can still kill any doubt in our heroes that could affect them in the upcoming fight. Someone call Saint Walker. This man needs a blue ring. The think tank's device is ready, apparently tested to perfection, but the human component is still unknown. As long as no one thinks the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man will be okay. As Gleep detects Omnikron phasing out again, it's noted that in recent weeks, the creature stays in its limbo dimension for at least 3.4 hours. We think it's reconstituting the many beings it absorbed, composing itself before the next attack. It must be muddled after pulling in so many people. A cacophony of voices in its mind. Nah, it just goes into a food coma. Just imagine eating a big Thanksgiving dinner, dropping onto the couch, undoing your belt and the button on your pants, and just spacing out in front of the TV. That's Omnikron right now. Their best option is to attack when the creature is out of sorts post-feeding, and with coordination being key, Deva has everyone synchronize their clocks, which is giving me Parker Lewis Can't Lose flashbacks. And now I feel old. Anyway, when they're ready, Mightor opens up a portal, and Birdman begins detecting the monster's trail, tracing it with his own light, with the help of Gleep, who detected his twin, Gloop, within the void.
Ew, Gleep juice. Or is this Gloop?
While Tara has kept her Herculoid companions away from technology, today may require them to make a circuit. Creating a sensory tunnel, much like Omnikron's, which kinda looks like the kid's maze on the back of a restaurant menu, and using the polymorph's strange connection to it, they're creating a lure, and the visual they're sending their foe as bait is a Grand Canyon full of snarking multi-man clones. Look, I used to work in retail, so believe me when I say there are some items that only move off the shelves if you put them on clearance 50% off at least. The trap works and Omnikron portals through, faster than anticipated. Multi's copies are like the McRib, they're only available for a limited time. Props to Multi, he looked more delicious than I would have given him credit for.
Hey, phrase it!
With number 1 chained to a rock, because I guess they wanted him to have a front row seat for all this, Fear's complement of spider drones are sent in, their heat beams set to max. On a 2-page spread, we see how much of the canyon it's filling up, as Birdman, Mightor, and Team Ghost spread out their energy attacks to prevent any unexpected vortexes from being created before they're ready. Race, Jade, and Deva, apparently the Space Force of Earth, are keeping it at bay in the north end. These spaced-out, smaller attacks keeping it from focusing its thoughts, so it behaves less like one creature and more like several. Frankenstein Jr. starts attacking in a narrow part of the canyon, giving him an advantage, while Buzz handles comms and any emergency maintenance, though his mom says if anything goes wrong, he has to eject.
If you get horribly maimed or crippled, no video games for a week, mister.
The final team is sent in, the Herculoids and Impossibles, going by Gleep's direction to what's left of Gloop inside the monster. Having levitated the rock ape Ego to this point, Cobalt drops him to make a path they can follow in their car. Jace figures he and Jan could follow in the Phantom Cruiser, but Jan disagrees. An attack of this scale has not been attempted before, and even a small surviving part of Omnikron's core will just start its terror all over again. Gloop is found inside the creature, seeming to guide the stone gorilla, when the car is attacked. Sure, the Impossibles can't be absorbed, much like Egu, who comes to the rescue, but they can still be crushed or suffocated. Or worse, made to listen to their own music on loop. They reach the core, which looks like a small sun inside a forest. It's Omnikron's original part, before he sold out and started assimilating all life like a conformist. As Fluid Man creates a barrier to protect them, Cobalt uses her powers to, essentially, hit 2 poles together, launching a device into the core.
Oh sure, smash the smart guy's machine.
That was actually a controller pod, with the power of 70 of Zin's mind-controlling devices, and with him, Linda, and Benton transmitting a single suggestion and the added help of their cerebral wave device, they can keep Omnikron in the canyon for the strike team to attack at full power. They activate the device, but it doesn't seem to be working. Inside, Egu is MIA, and all minds within the creature are being absorbed while it begins closing in on the team. Outside, the helmeted scientists begin convulsing in pain, much to Johnny's horror.
Hachi, it didn't work! It's all over! Humanity is doomed! There's no escape for any of us!
Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. I also have a Patreon where I... Issue 12's alternate cover is fairly simple, though with a drastically different art style. Space Ghost, Tara, Zoc, and Gloop all in front of a splattery-looking cosmic background. Not bad, but hardly fitting for the final issue of such a big story. The far more appropriate cover in that regard is the main one, where all the heroes are gazing outward or charging ahead confidently. In a way, this could have worked for the first cover, but it holds greater significance for the final issue, with a very hopeful vibe. Which they'll need, because Space Ghost loses contact with the Impossibles, so leads the jetpack-enabled air team to burn an escape route. Meanwhile, Zinn and Benton endure cerebral feedback, memories of the accident that killed Ellen Quest and Linda's husband being used against them and preventing their control over Omnikron. For Zinn, he was indebted to a masked figure for something called Zarathustra, and it's heavily implied that despite Archimedes trying to warn them, it was this mystery man's organization that caused the deadly lab explosion. Come on, man. You could have bought time by building a dud out of old pinball parts. Hey, he's already ripped off Kim-Conroy's spider drone design. It may as well rip off Doc Brown. Speaking of Linda, she figures there's no choice but to try and use the controller alone, even though one mind wasn't thought to be enough. Before her attempt, Buzz calls with an emergency. Frankie is being hit with an energy beam that's bypassing the hull and shutting off his brain. So Omnicron is firing OAN at the robot? It turns out to be a synaptic pulse, a problem that can be corrected by following Linda's instructions.
We're doomed!
At the monster's core, the Impossibles protect Tara and Gleep the best they can, but they're being overwhelmed until Ghost and company arrive to zap them to safety. They spot Egu still busting his way through the creature, and since Cobalt can magnetically lift him away, she tells the others to get out and she'll soon follow. However, the rock ape is very focused on his task, and with good reason. He retrieves Gloop from the enemy's innards. Outside, after reconnecting some wires and sacrificing flight capabilities, Frankie's neural net is online again, with Linda pointing out that Buzz's dad designed it, based on his own brain, so in a way, he's still with him.
Oh, so that's why Frankie's always reminding me to brush my teeth and challenging me to arm fart contests.
With Frankie back in the fight and the control team compromised, the only option left is to destroy the entire entity in the canyon, quickly weakening it enough to prevent the creation of an escape vortex. Too bad some spider bots are beginning to lose power. Linda designed them, Zinn copied them, and neither of the biggest brains on the planet thought to make the laser-firing spy drones solar-powered? Some scientists they are. Omnicron tries repeating a trick it tried before, creating a portal beneath itself so gravity can help it amscray, but Mitor uses his new skills to close it, though seems so entranced he's nearly pulled in himself. On Buzz's suggestion, Frankie decides to unleash everything he's got on the monster. Remember, this is based on old kids' cartoons, so as inopportune as it be, there's still a chance that all those barrels shoot bang flags. Johnny suggests he and Haji help out by using the control helmets. He's hard-headed, and Benton has said that Haji's mind has always been very disciplined. And when you know it, this works, with their, I suppose, mental projections making their way through the images of various creatures, in order to find the enemy's original mind. But they're fought off, just like their dad and Zinn. Haji reliving his parents getting washed away in a storm, and Johnny his mom's death. However, he remains steadfast, grabbing his brother and breaking the illusion. Now able to focus, they find a clearer path to the core and make their way inside.
Dibs on writing Johnny rules in Sharpie all over the place!
The monster stopped attacking, much to our heroes' relief, but they can't simply blast the core to smithereens. If they miss even the smallest piece, it will regrow just as it did after the Space Force's assault so long ago. With a bit of nudging by Birdman, Mitor opens a vortex, picturing something he'd often gaze upon at night from his grandparents' yard. The neighbor's window when they have an R-rated movie on the TV? Actually, he sends it into space, where it freezes. But as added insurance, Space Ghost and his sidekicks follow and take it into hyperspace using their ship's tow beam, which I guess exceeds physics if it can move an object thousands of times its own size. On Earth, our heroes gather in triumph, the Quest Boys' control attributed to youthful clarity of purpose, unburdened by the demons of adulthood. Yeah, but if they tried that after puberty hit, all that teenage angst, everyone would have been dead in 5 minutes. Zin, Jade, and Number 1 got away, though you have to wonder how far they could have gotten, aside from the jetpack Jade used earlier. And Egu is still holding his catch from inside Omnikron. Before Birdman can disintegrate it to prevent any further regrowth of the monster, Gleep slides in the way. And through the power of gelatinous nuzzling, Gloop is restored, though he looks a little traumatized. Space Ghost and his crew return, confirming that Omnikron is totally, officially defeated forever, thanks to the might and minds of everyone present. He doesn't specify how the monster is destroyed, and no one asks. Considering how much of a threat this thing was, I'd expect someone to bring it up before they all part ways. Or is everyone just so relieved it's over, they don't want to question its destruction and are taking Space Ghost at his word? Funnier than all the pet sidekicks getting along is the expression on Haji's face when Jan gives him a victory hug. I mean, the fan fiction this created could very well be terrifying, but in context, this is still cute. There are several planets waiting to hear the news that Ding Dong the monster's dead, and with Birdman's help, Tai can create portals where Ghost and the Herculoids need to go. Sometime later, the Galaxy Trio, lost early in the series, are mourned. Tara and her companions return to Amzot to see the birth of a new Herculoid, very similar to their lost Tundro, and as evidence of their enemy's destruction, Space Ghost recorded Omnikron being hurled into the sun because I guess the Phantom Cruiser has a dash cam. I thought about making a joke about a phony news network claiming Omnikron was alive and totally innocent and bringing in randos to pretend to be experts in space monsters, but I already made an OAN joke earlier. The footage is part of a broadcast hosted by Falcon 7, and has apparently been playing all day on every network. The Impossibles are lounging, speculating about their future now that they're secret agents, minus the secret, while most of them have some kind of Hanna-Barbera Easter egg shirt. Not Cobalt, though. What, no wacky races or even Penelope Pitstop? Then Ray reveals to Deva that he's actually met Falcon 7. Realizing that his messages repeat with digitally inserted dialogue from Agent Sumati. Which sounds like a really vague way to say it. He could have said that in the years of getting missions from him, he noticed that certain phrases, syntax, mannerisms, and other cues were identical to Deva's, and that would have at least been clearer.
Hey lady, I need a yank. Ha ha ha! Dislocation.
She admits that he's right, I guess out of earshot of all the others, saying that she built Internation from the ground up, but couldn't quit doing the field work personally. She is glad that he knows, not liking having kept him in the dark, and coming clean was easier than explaining to Ty's parents that their son is like the OG Captain Marvel now. Dad seems kinda stoked, but Mom might be catatonic. The kids are gazing up into the sky, Ty hardly believing what they went through, Buzz happy to have his giant robot buddy back, and Johnny grateful for his friends on Earth and beyond, as the comic ends on images of their allies among the clouds.
Luke, I am your father. This is CNN.
That was Future Quest, and it was pretty great. I don't have a great deal of nostalgia for the cartoons this is based on. Sure, I watched some of them over the years, but I was always more of a Looney Tunes kid, and wouldn't even become aware of some of these characters until I was a cynical teenager that couldn't muster much interest in them, though I became more familiar with The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, which aged the characters a bit, added more of an edge and clunky CGI because 90s, and gave Race Bannon a southern accent for a while.
Only one other man knew about that, and he's dead.
I say a while because by the second season, the animation changed, they tweaked the CG element, and swapped Race's voice actor for one that was in no way southern. But I digress. Despite the very cheesy nature of the source material, there's peril, stakes, a genuine sense of danger, still balanced with the more optimistic elements of the cartoons. We see losses even from familiar characters, confusion and struggle in the heat of battle, and mystery that could be expanded upon. Old characters show they're far from irrelevant, new characters rise to the challenges they're faced with, and it never feels like they're talking down to the audience if they liked the original stuff. The threat was appropriately massive and dangerous, and for the most part, rules established about Omnikron and the heroes fighting it were maintained throughout, so victory largely made sense and was satisfying, though with some exception. If Hachi's mind is super disciplined and Johnny is stubborn, that's fine, even when it factors into suppressing the monster's rampage, but those traits for them weren't very well established beforehand. Part of that was having so many characters to focus on that perhaps things slipped through the cracks. The old cartoon showed that the two would sneak away to join the action, how they could be reckless, but here, focused discipline or hard-headedness never really seemed to show up that much, though it was nice that they accentuated a more brotherly bond. From what I remember, in the old show they were more like best friends that lived together, no formal establishment or adoption for Haji for whatever reason. Not unlike the 1980s Ninja Turtle cartoon, they were pals, they were buds, but not necessarily brothers. There were moments that the sillier stuff felt a tad out of place, largely with the Impossibles, and they never revisit what happened with Todd Messick. They leave him with a caveman, some mystery agent tries searching for his parents, and that's the end of it. The story very much forgets about him.
Rounds over. You go.
Hey, maybe that's what happened with his parents. They weren't absorbed or killed, they snuck away for some peace and quiet and lost track of time. And their son. Kind of like how Tundro died early on, and the very characters he was close to, Tara and the rest of the Herculoids, don't seem to be informed about it to actually mourn their friend. Tundro's not even brought up as a test subject for Dr. Zinn or anything. He just dies, gets hauled off, and that's the end of it. And continuing on that note, it kind of makes me wonder what Tara's husband and child did while she was away. With the Herculoids gone, seems like a great time for those evil robots to plunder Amzot's minerals. The pacing had a couple hiccups, because they had a lot of characters to introduce, some backstory to establish, but I think they did the best they could. They could have tried interchanging Birdman's first mission with Deva with the Herculoid story, but I think that would have ended up too confusing and overall making things worse. Other than that, the two issues that split between the main story and the Impossibles could have been two separate issues with one story apiece, but in the end, it became much better focused after that. They do make some changes compared to the old tunes, though. Dr. Zinn not only has to rip off someone else's work, which makes me wonder why he's considered one of the world's great minds, but he's also much more sympathetic here. He made deals with the wrong people who retaliated and killed two of his peers. Even if he wasn't personally involved in the sabotage, he still would have been implicated. Deva Sumati, revealed to be Falcon 7, could potentially be a touchy subject for some, but if in the old cartoon he was just some dude on a screen doling out missions to Birdman, it hardly feels like a cataclysmic change. I mean, unless the original show had long arcs, and one included a gripping and nuanced history and personal arc for the guy with the eye patch. And even then, I'd still probably read his dialogue here with Stephen Colbert's voice in my head.
Ha ha! Dangly parts.
Tai and Cobalt were welcomed additions. Esme, a victim of circumstance offering a new power set to help out and work with an established group, while Tai stumbled into a legacy that he embraced and put work into getting right. The art was consistently great, blending old character designs with modern styles, feeling new and classic at the same time, not sacrificing what works for trendiness or gimmickry. The only thing I really noticed wrong was how, in a few issues, some outlines broke through the margins and into the gutters on some pages. Not a huge detail, but one I don't normally see in comics in general. But that's a really minor flaw. About as minor as Zinn's inconsistent facial hair. This is one of those rare reboots that feels like it has a respect for the source material, not the product of an overeager writer trying to run before they can walk. I think newcomers to these characters can enjoy it, as can existing fans, if they can overlook a few alterations. Though being a cartoon myself for the past few months, I'm not exactly as exhilarated as I thought I would be. I mean, I can't even access any of my stuff. I mean, some cartoons, you just reach into their pockets or behind their backs, and then suddenly there's a... I'm the angry Sporkin' Man if I got issues! And my machete!